What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Force Strategy Gaming. This is going to be game number 2 here between Sen and Naniwa. We have got Sen as our blue Zerg player spawning in the lower left-hand position of Shakur's Plateau. And then over here in the lower right-hand position, our green Protoss player, Naniwa. So again, yes, game number 2 here between Naniwa and Sen. Naniwa managing to win last game with some very effective Phoenix and Gateway harass is what we saw. Naniwa opened up with that Forge Fast Expand, moved into Phoenix Gateway harass, and that proved to be incredibly effective. A big problem for Sen too is that he had his third expansion very far away from his natural, and that made it difficult to defend, especially when Naniwa pushed out against the third and was able to force field Sen out of the third expansion, preventing him from reinforcing effectively. So again, kind of a little bit of a mistake there on Sen's half, at least in the fact that he exposed himself to that type of pressure, and Naniwa, well, he took full advantage of that. Now, it does look like Naniwa will be going for Forge Fast Expand again this game with the pylon there at the front of his natural expansion. There is the Forge, and he is scouting out with the probe over here, figuring out where Naniwa is, moving right on in. Naniwa figuring out where Sen is, rather, moving right on into his base, and there you go. So we can see that Sen has decided to open up with one base play. Now, Naniwa very likely to do that same type of pylon harass at the natural that we saw last game. Would love to see him come out with some cannon harass as well, but I'm not entirely sure because we didn't see Naniwa do that last game, so he may decide not to do that this game as well. Back over here, Overlord finally moving right on in to Naniwa's base. Sen, in just one moment, will be scouting him out. We're going to see him go just as far as he needs to, scouting out the worker. Is he going to go far enough to check the Nexus? Yes, he is. He's just going to keep on going with that Overlord. Probably going to change direction there up to the natural just to see what's going on. There is that pylon harass, much like last game. Naniwa doing what he can to be as much of a nuisance as possible. We can see right there, doing the extractor trick, Sen's allowing himself to go over that supply cap, and as such able to come out with a few extra Zerglings early on to try to again prevent this harass from being too effective. So we've got 4 Zerglings now on the map, and Naniwa will shortly be forced to pull back to his main base. And here we go, Zerglings moving down to engage that probe. Probe staying as long as possible. He was just trying to harass Sen for as long as humanly possible, delay that expansion. We've got those 4 Zerglings now moving across the map. Sen likely to just be droning up right now. You can see even no extractors. He is so focused on getting a very strong mineral economy and just working his way up from there once he's got a nice and solid econ going. Now the cannon is up. We also have that gateway working its way up, and that's going to allow him to get that wall off. Unfortunately, those Zerglings not going to stand much of a chance. Now that that cannon is finished, they are heading back home. 2 of them grabbing their respective Zelnaga towers in the center of the map, and then the other 2 heading back on over to this third expo right outside of that natural. We have a probe moving up, and he will be moving actually in this direction towards the third expansion. Now, with that Zelnaga Tower vision, Sen is fully aware of that, so we're splitting up his Zerglings, trying to make sure that he can take out that probe. Not going to have Metabolic Boost for quite a while. That first extractor just now coming in for Sen, so Sen not going to have that speed upgrade anytime soon. Naniwa checking that third, seeing that nothing is there, was probably thinking about dropping a proxy pylon for future use, but again, with those 2 Zerglings hot on his trail, really not standing much of a chance. He could try to drop it, but it would clearly be spotted and then subsequently taken out, so really definitely not worth it whatsoever. Zerglings still trying to continue to chase, but again, not going to be able to catch up. The probe should be able to make it back here to that natural expansion, no problem, and there we go. Let's see if those Zerglings, just barely out of the range there of that photon cannon. He was ready to shoot, wasn't able to. Those Zerglings turned around just in the nick of time. Now, Sen's still over here with the Overlord, realizing now that the Cybernetics core is finished, should be time to head on over here. Probably pulling down to that right position, just getting right behind that natural expansion, possibly even tucking himself away over here. We'll also have another Overlord moving in this direction, again, in the same position that we saw last game. Sen just needs to make sure that he's got that secondary scouting prepared for some point in the future so that he can know what he's up against. Again, last game, what we saw was Naniwa got the level 1 weapons, the level 1 armor, and then came out with some Phoenixes, and that's the kind of intel that you really need to be aware of. So Sen will be either sacrificing those Overlords or using an Overseer like we saw last game to try to get a Changeling in play and get as much scouting information from Naniwa as possible. One Zealot moving to the center of the map. More than enough to threaten the Zergling. Zergling pulling back there. We've got another Zergling spotting over here. That Zealot's not going to be able to do much damage at all, really. A couple of Zerglings plus a Queen is enough to stop it. But here he is, scouting out the third expansion. Naniwa sending that Zealot up into the third expo spot. Will be aware of Sen's expansion now. In addition, ooh, wow, okay, just getting enough vision to scout. I really thought that he was actually going to move down and start damaging that, because you can really do a lot of damage while that hatchery is building. He's instead moving on into the natural, and again, just scouting out. Now we have got a Roach Warren coming on through. Naniwa checking the back of the base, spotting that evolution chamber as well, trying to tuck himself away in the corner and do as much damage as he can before losing the Zealot. Managing to get off one kill there, but I believe that was about it. So take a look here at the units lost. We can see 2 workers killed so far for Sen. Nothing killed for Naniwa. Naniwa so far just killing that one Zergling that we just saw a moment ago. Third expansion now up. Going to be working to saturate that. You can see transferring over a whole bunch of drones over there. That Roachmorn just about to pop. Do we have a layer? Yes, we do. That layer is finished as well. Going to be able to continue to get some upgrades, possibly get that infestation pit. We also have that level 1 missile attack coming out here for the ground units there of Sen. Sen now coming out with that Glow reconstitution. That, of course, is the speed there for those roaches. And what was Naniwa's transition? I've been so focused on these small little engagement that I wasn't really paying attention here. Now we have got another gateway coming out. Looks like gateway heavy plus robo. Let's take a look at that robo here. We got any observers in play? No, we do not. Deciding to just come out with immortals early on. Sitting on 2 immortals at this point in the game, but no observers at all. There we go, finally coming out with an observer. Again, he got plenty of scouting with that Zealot. Really didn't need too much intel besides what he was given there. We've got the armor upgrades coming out over here as well for Naniwa. A couple more gateways being warped in at the moment. Now back over here for Sen. What is he doing? Still just sticking Roach heavy. Doesn't have an infestation pit or anything like that anytime soon. So he will just be relying on Roaches and Speedlings to fend off this engagement. And here it comes. Naniwa moving across the map. He has got a few sentries and a couple of mortals as well. Roaches prepared to engage. We've got 7 Roaches about to pop. The big problem right now, though, are those sentries laying down those force fields. Major concern. We're actually seeing him pull down with some workers too. He is concerned about this push. He has got to stop this from doing damage. Getting us around there with the workers, prevent them from getting on up into that expansion. It's going to allow those Roaches and Speedlings to get a little bit closer. Those sentries getting dropped. There are just 2 left, down to now 1 sentry. Very nice. Now he lost tons of workers, but he didn't lose the expansion, and that is pretty key. Losing a total of 13 workers, the expansion should survive. I don't know, though. Those force fields are still up, and watch this Immortal go to town. That is unreal, laying down 2 more force fields, and it looks like Naniwa takes out the 3rd expansion Immortals. My gosh, so effective at sniping those expansions. That was unreal. You know, in all honesty, if that Immortal wasn't there, Naniwa would not have had the firepower to take out that hatchery before those force fields dissipated. But with that Immortal sniping down that hatchery, that has got to be frustrating for Sen. Sen losing that expansion 2 games in a row, losing his 3rd. Problem this time, too, is he doesn't really have much for a counterattack. Now, he's got actually quite a few Roaches, but right now what we're going to see is Naniwa warping in some sentries and stalkers. He's just going to lay down a force field wall, and those Roaches really aren't going to be able to bust. As long as Naniwa's paying enough attention, he really should be okay against this. We're seeing those Roaches prepared to make a push right on up into Naniwa's base, but I'm so concerned that, again, even just like 1 or 2 more sentries being warped in, that'll keep those Roaches out just long enough, allowing a few more warp-ins for stalkers as well, and Naniwa should be okay. Sen needs to do something, though. He is quite a bit behind at this point in the game. So Naniwa working to get his 3rd back up and running, again, trying to push out and do some aggression. It doesn't look like he's staging up yet, though. He's also got a Spire coming out, Burrow Research, and the Missile Attack level 2 upgrade coming out for his Roaches. Little vision of the high ground there with the Overseer, allowing him to take out that pylon, also dropping a Changeling down there on the ground. But that's it. Sen's pushing back. He's just not prepared to engage. Again, very, very difficult to engage this position here with a Forge Fast Expanding Protoss. It's just so hard to push up there, especially with sentries. All they need to do is drop down 2 force fields, and you are locked out of the base. Naniwa, ooh, pushing forward. I don't think he's going to be moving up. He's got Blink Stalkers, though, and an Observer. And we may see Naniwa try to work his way up into an expansion or the main with those Blink Stalkers. And this could be pretty devastating. I'm actually a little bit concerned for Sen. Sen moving forward with those Roaches. Watch that Stalker Micro pulling back. Roaches with their speed, though, able to catch up on the creep. Unfortunately, though, off creep, not quite as easy. And now that Blink is off cooldown as well, Naniwa should be okay. And there it is, just doing damage, pulling back, and that's that. Sen realizing he really can't engage those yet, not without fungal growth. And actually, oh my gosh, did he just cancel? Okay, never mind, it finished. I thought he canceled the infestation pit. That is finished, so we've got the pathogen glands coming out. Fungal growth will allow those Roaches to catch on up to those Blink Stalkers. But I'm still concerned about a little bit of a raid here. It looks like Naniwa may be preparing to do just that very thing, preparing to move on forward. And that's a lot of Roaches. Needs to be careful. There we go, blinking back, trying to get as far away from that creep as possible. Observer, probably stick with those Stalkers. May make things a little bit easier, especially since we have got some Burrowed Roaches on the board. Now, big thing to note here, Naniwa working his way up into his third. That's a cause for concern here for Sen. Sen lost his third. Hasn't done much damage since and is just now getting that back up and running, and he really needs to be thinking about a fourth right now, especially since Naniwa is going to have this third base saturated very, very shortly. Still just seeing a dancing game here between these Roaches and the Blink Stalkers, but look at this. 9 Infestors coming out, and that will be enough, most certainly, to take care of those Blink Stalkers pretty quickly. Naniwa needs to be careful to get, he doesn't want to get too close there. Oh, Blink Stalkers moving forward. Very nice, taking out the one Overseer there. Roaches unburrowing, but again, concerned that they really can't push up against those Blink Stalkers off the creep, not until we get some fungal growth laid down. Sen, though, with the research there, able to get that fungal growth right away on those Infestors, and here we go. Now he's confident to move across the map, and just going to take a few kills here and there. 4 Stalkers get dropped. Roaches continuing to pursue Naniwa, realizing that he cannot engage us at the moment, deciding to pull back. Got some Immortals in play, plus those Guardian Shields and some nice Force Fields, and this is not looking too good for Sen. We got to see some Fungal Growth there, laying down a few Infested Terrans. Should be seeing some Fungals. No, still continuing to lay down those Infested Terrans. Those Force Fields proved to be pretty devastating, and there are so many Stalkers remaining. There is a Fungal Growth laid down on the Stalkers over here, but it does not matter because there are so many for Naniwa. Naniwa able to just outmuscle Sen and pushing him all the way back. And now in danger of losing some of those Infestors. He's down to 8 right now. Those Infestors burrowing down. Going to be able to head on back to the safety of those Speedlings. We got a couple more Roaches coming out here as well. Stalkers blinking back. That Immortal's in trouble. Going to be regrouping, though, with the rest of the forces. Immortal gets surrounded. Stalkers will be continuing to micro around. Here come those Infestors. Not enough energy at the moment, though, to lay down many fungal growths. You can see right there, just doesn't have what is necessary. So again, those Blink Stalkers in a nice position. There's a beautiful blink forward and snipe there from Naniwa. Still, still not looking good right now for Sen. Sen did a fairly decent job at that engagement, but I am still quite a bit concerned. Take a quick look at the income tab. We can see Naniwa looks to be slightly ahead, even if it's only a little bit. Taking a look, 62 drones as opposed to 65 probes there. So Naniwa having that worker advantage at the moment. We've got Speedlings, Roaches, and Infestors at the center of the map. But what about that Hive Tech? Sen's not preparing to move on into Hive Tech quite yet. He's actually going to be coming out with Hydras right now. So Hydras is going to be the transition that we are seeing from Sen. Pushing forward a very nice fungal growth, allowing those Speedlings to catch up. We are seeing some force field action. There is another fungal as well, and those Stalkers get dropped there with some nice fungal growth and Speedlings surround. That was a nice engagement for Sen. He's got to keep this up. Really needs to try to take out this third. He's going to have a problem pushing into this choke, though, especially with those force fields. Here come those Infested Terrans. Infestors burrowing down. Roaches just not within range of the force fields, plus this narrow pathway, making it very difficult for those Roaches to do much damage. And they're going to be forced back right now. We got some Hydras moving down. Looks like they're suiciding. That's no good at all. Finally pushing back, and wow, this is not looking good. Sen, unfortunately, he just can't push this third. With those force fields, Naniwa is very well protected as long as he maintains enough sentries and make sure that their energies are up to force field them out. There's really nothing Sen can do. I'm a little bit surprised once those force field walls went down that he didn't actually try to engage over here. It looks like he was just a bit too committed to hitting this third expansion. He had just overextended himself, so he wasn't really able to pull back. That's something you see actually fairly often. You'll see the Zerg player feigns a push into the third from this direction. The Protoss player drops those force fields because he needs to. protects himself fairly well, and if the roaches keep on pushing, as we saw there, like Sen wasn't able to push up against it. But as a Zerg player, if you're not too overcommitted, you can then pull on back and just hit that natural expansion, and that's usually a pretty good position. He has got a lot more roaches and hydras now, a couple more infestors still in the mix. Let's take a look here at total army supply. Sen quite a bit ahead. Quite a bit ahead indeed. Not a lot of action going on over here. Both players just kind of sitting with the bulk of their forces in the middle. There's no harassing. There's no raiding going on at all from either. Colossus transition here coming out for Naniwa. That's going to be a huge concern for Sen, because Sen isn't prepared to deal with the Colossus. He's finally coming out with some Corruptors, as you can see in the upper left-hand corner. But right now, those Hydras going to get roasted. Huge fungal growth going down on all those Stalkers. Again, that force field wall, and this is just a tough position for Sen to try to engage. He is pushing himself against this, but look at that Protoss army just tear through everything that Sen has. Again, Sen just in a bad position, trying to engage in a spot that is not advantageous for him. He gets mopped up fairly quickly, and Naniwa, he's about to counter push, I'm pretty certain. I cannot imagine why he wouldn't. Rest of the Hydras getting mopped up there. One Roach, one Hydra getting zapped there by the Colossus. That is the only 2 kills that Colossus has, but they were pretty impressive looking kills, I would have to say. So Naniwa now prepared for that counterattack, and Sen keeps throwing himself against that angle at the third, and with those force fields, he's just not standing a chance. I can't believe he tried the same thing a second time in a row, and that was not looking good at all. We got a lot of roaches. There's some fungal growth there on the bulk of the ground army. Those Corruptors should be enough to take out the rest of those Colossus. 1 down. There is number 2. Can't get number 3 though, because there are no more ground forces right now for Sen. He's just got a few roaches left. He's got 10 roaches coming out. This push from Naniwa though looking to be very strong. I'm not sure that Sen is going to have enough to stop this now. He's got 12 roaches about to pop, but there are still so many forces here. And there it is. Sen forced to call the GG. That is going to be it for this series, guys. Naniwa taking it a clean sweep, 2-0 against Sen. Sen, this game, just had a very hard time engaging the 3rd expansion of Naniwa. Naniwa was able to protect that quite easily with force field action. And then after decimating Sen's army a couple of times, we saw Naniwa just push out for a counterattack and force that GG. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today. Hopefully you have enjoyed these StarCraft 2 commentaries. As always, if you like the content, please subscribe. Thank you for watching. Keep watching and keep owning.